Hi, everybody. Welcome. We are live on Danay's YouTube channel.
Woo!
Woo! Yeah, happy Friday. That's when this is happening. And it's 4:30 where I am, and later than that in Danay's world. So, okay, it's 6:32. But what is time, really?
Well, we did a whole
That's
thing on
a,
time and we've
I was gonna
decided.
say that's a whole other video. If you're interested, you could check it out. We did do a really good live on time. This is not that. This is, in fact, us learning how to use Zoom to connect to our other destinations because I hate to say it, StreamYard, but Zoom's noise cancellation abilities, just the ease, they all seem superior at this point.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm afraid that was a big deal breaker for us.
But here's the interesting thing though, because we do, and I mean, this is like a fresh kind of peek in how our conversations go normally. Like we don't hop on a call when we have these conversations and go, "Ooh, what are we going to talk about today?" Right? We just kind of go with the flow. So navigating the unknown, one of the things that we end up doing with these conversations that we have, which just happen naturally because of our interests and our
Mhm.
connection. Um, but the interesting thing here is I'm getting a blending of conversations that we've had in the past. You know, we did a video recently when I was with you in Alberta, that had its technological issues. There was like a buzz, and it just happened to be the video that we talked about, attachment to outcome. Now we're
Mm.
we're playing with tech here because we couldn't get it to not include background sound on StreamYard, but we knew on Zoom we would be limited in the capacity of where we could actually stream it. So it was interesting to kind of say, yes, we're navigating the unknown, but in this particular circumstance, neither of us, to my knowledge, were attached in a great capacity to this video being a particular way.
It's
So,
true.
um, but there are things.
And
Okay.
and to add to that, I had some attachment to StreamYard working because I looked at my credit card and I realized, oh yeah, I'm paying for that. I thought I was still on a free trial and I'm paying monthly and paid for it the month that we didn't use it at all. And I know I felt some resentment about that. I'm like, oh, I forgot about that. And I had an attachment to getting value out of it for sure. So I think the more we tried to make it work today, even just me choosing the right microphone crashed my computer twice, and that did not please me. So there was a lot of resistance building. So it feels good to just kind of go, bye.
Well, that's the great thing in whether we're talking about, and we can adjust the title to this video very easily, but whether we're
Oops.
navigating the unknown or releasing attachment to things and being okay with the fact that shit doesn't work out. Like sometimes we go in with particular intentions of things and we get frustrated. And I know that you and aren't the only ones over the past, week, bit, 2, 3, October,
Mhm.
year, have had moments where we're like, OMG, like, I just want to like smash things or whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Uh, And I think this is great for people to acknowledge within themselves that one, you're not alone. And navigating the unknown in the work that we do, we never know what's going to happen, but it isn't always like butterflies, daisies, and rainbows. You know, sometimes it's annoying, it's frustrating, it's all sorts of things that make you want to shake your fist in the air, among other things. And sometimes things, even the smallest little things, sometimes it's, that not working out creates this sort of energy of um, the, how do I say this? It creates this energy that just, it's the straw that breaks the camel's back, essentially.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I just, I'm having a thought now that if anybody's on talking to us, we don't know. So,
Well, and there's that. And I have a thought that, like, why is my hair sticking up? Because I can see it. But um I have to
so
say,
I'm gonna,
I liked the engagement on StreamYard. I liked the fact that people could ask questions and we could show the questions and comment back. Although I didn't like the fact that then those really, really great questions didn't transfer over to any of our other destinations that we were using.
yeah,
So again, I think we are still searching for the perfect platform.
yeah.
But yeah, what can you do?
And I opened up my YouTube in case anybody happens to pop on. But we may just talk to ourselves, and that's the thing. When we decide on a whim to do a live, and
Yeah.
it's dinner time in Eastern time zone, or it's make dinner time in all the other time zones
Pretty much.
in Canada.
Pretty
um,
much. BC might still be at work, but do we know anyone there? I don't know. Of course we do. Of course we
we
do.
know
But
people all over the world.
they're probably at work or trying to go pick up their kids from school or something. So
Yeah. So,
it's
but
true. It's a big
this is the thing.
country.
This is the thing, though. But I think this is valuable, whether it's the replay or people are on live at any point. Um, it's
What is
valuable.
your point, Danai? What is your point? What is valuable? Tell me. I'm
It's
not being
valuable.
sarcastic.
I
I want to
understand.
know.
Um, it's valuable for people to see that tech doesn't always work, and how do you handle it? How do you handle the experience of getting frustrated or the little things? I'll bring some psychology into this, or just some common sense. Essentially, people talk about the big events in life, like the adversities and the traumas, having massive consequences, negative. Because we just did something about the power of words, and talking about how words themselves are neutral, and we create a charge behind them based on our experiences. Consequences is one of those words, because people assume bad, but there's a
Yeah.
consequence to everything, cause and effect. Anyway,
Yeah.
so the idea of having these big sort of adversities or traumas, they have their effect, but really the big thing in people's lives that actually has a compounding effect are those daily hassles. Those are the things that cause, like, or well, there's research that shows some relation to your stress level and your experience of daily hassles, and things that you do. If you deal with technology and your computer crashes and it keeps doing that, like, on a regular basis, like, you're gonna want to lose your shit. um or if you're trying to upload a video or create content, and certain things are happening, or your computer's running out of space and you're trying to clear out space, and all these little tiny little nuances create like this compounding effect, where it's like it's one little brick on top of another little brick, and eventually it all just comes crumbling down and crashes on you, and you just right. But it has nothing to do with one big event. It's all these little things that built up, and something fell over and then created this sort of energy in you that just said,
Yeah.
like, I'm done. And I've definitely, over the past week, have had this moment where I'm like, I'm done. Like, fuck it, I'm done. But it wasn't like one thing that did it. It was these little things that just built off the other, and it just made me nuts. So that's the interesting thing in navigating those, essentially, and knowing that you know you're going to run into little challenges and nuances, or nuisances during your day, and it's okay.
Mhm.
Right. It's okay if you get knocked off your feet and have a moment where you're really frustrated. It's okay to have these experiences, because it's very human. It's very human. And people who are endeavoring in the realms of self-transformation, self-growth, and all these things, they're going to be ridiculously hard on themselves if they're not consistently happy. And that's like, no. It's like, you can't, you gotta, like, we're human, and we're going to have like a full spectrum of emotions that we're going to experience on a regular basis. And it's how we respond to things. And sometimes we respond in a way that we don't feel great about. And other times we're like, oh, yeah, if you're vibing high and you're having a great day and everything's going well, a little nuisance or a little daily hassle isn't going to knock you off your edge. But if it has been compounding for a while, it'll break you. And that's perfect. So I think that's the value in this conversation, is the fact that maybe because people have, and I mean, we talk to clients on a regular basis, and people have been going through challenging times, and they are hard on themselves because they've created this responsibility upon themselves, or this requirement upon themselves, to be happy all the time, to be perfect all the time. And no, it's not needed. It's good to be human. It's good to have these emotions and express them. And there are ways to use tools to resolve them. Humor's a great one. Finding the lightness in something, that's been frustrating you is really valuable. So, you have thoughts? I can keep talking forever.
Yes, you can. But it's good. So everything you said was fabulous and very true. I don't I don't know that people put that much pressure to be perfect. However, I do think they really set the bar high, especially if they are in kind of that law of attraction world where if they admit to someone that they're not feeling good, then somehow it's their fault because they were thinking the wrong thoughts or had the wrong vibration. And to make anything wrong, it just doesn't, it doesn't work. So I think if you use strong words like break, I think it's nice to put it in more of a framework of, say, muscles. If you are building to strengthen your muscles, you actually need to tear your muscle fibers. And then as they repair, they come together stronger. And I think that there is value in kind of coming down from maybe like ooh, everything's great, life is so good, and then you kind of come down, and maybe it's a crash, or maybe it just feels like almost boredom, to know that it is a regrouping time, that you need to contract and release to exist, that you need to have that difference, that you cannot have one without the other, and you can't try to only be in one and ignore the other. So there needs to be that balance. And I think what happens is when people are feeling good, they're just bopping along feeling good, and they're not really taking notice. But if they're not feeling good, then it feels like the lowest of the low. And it feels like it's been this way forever, even if it's been an hour or a day. And they don't allow for the fact that I just had 20 amazing days where everything just kind of rolled off my back and felt good. So to have a balance, it's possible that this could go for 20 days and just be matching the other. Doesn't mean it has to, but it could, without it meaning that the world has come to an end. And I think it's funny because it's the opposite sometimes. Well, I guess maybe it isn't the opposite. It's the same idea that when good things happen, we just kind of go, oh yeah, but a bad thing happens and it's like, oh, this is so big. But 8 other things just happened. But you're like, no, that one thing. And your whole day can go on with 99% of it being amazing. But that 1% is like what you're going to go home and talk about at the end of the day or at the office. So I think it's how our perception works is interesting, because I think I agreed with everything you said. It's just a different side of it.
Yeah.
Of yes, maybe people do set their expectations really high, but I think even more than that, when they go lower, it feels worse than it ever did before because they've raised the vibrational set point. So they're all kind of normal because they've raised so much from that. It feels like the depths of hell. And that might have just been normal life, a year or two ago or whatever. And so your tolerance for it's almost kind of lessened, right? You became numb to the pain. And now that you're used to being higher, it's painful. It hurts. And so it feels even bigger.
Yeah.
And I don't think it always means that it is bigger. It just means I don't like this. I am not comfortable here. And it is, I think, allowing you sometimes even just to take a break, just thinking, oh, maybe I should slow down. Only maybe sometimes we don't slow down when we think that. So our body goes, pow, you're going to slow down right now. Right now. And we mean right now. And maybe for some people that's migraines or, a bad knee or a bad back or depression, and they don't even want to get out of bed. It's the body saying, time out, we're regrouping. So I think the great lesson there is as you get the cues along the way to listen to them, because I do think for myself, I ignore those cues of no, I'm busy. I don't want to do that. Or I'm having fun. I don't want to rest. I don't want to just kind of have a chill night. I want to be doing things. And then my body kind of goes, actually, yeah, no, you're going to be in bed this weekend because your head is telling you, turn off the lights and go to bed. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm going to rest.
Yeah.
So,
And you're making some excellent comments associated with one, the importance of resting. And I mean, we can, it's natural to want to rest, but there's certain times that we're going to ask for, our bodies are going to ask for more rest, or, our emotions are going to ask for reprieve of some sort. And the other thing is the tolerance. I've noticed the more that you do this inner work or whatever you want to call it, the less tolerant you are of any pain, emotional specifically. Physical is a different sort of thing. But one thing that kind of poked at me while you were talking about it was this idea of we don't celebrate ourselves enough. We end up having this experience where, like you said, we could have 20 days in a row where everything is going really, really well. And then one day is garbage. But why do we hone in on that one day? And I think it's a couple of reasons. One reason I think is associated with our conditioned response. Our response, because we've spent many years honing in on the bad things. We've gotten used to honing in to what's going wrong as opposed to what's going right. Because if something's going right, then we don't need to be attentive to it because it's going right. But why do we hone in on the bad? And the thing that comes to mind is survival. We gotta protect ourselves, right? And if things are going well, there's nothing we need to do about it. And I think that's a problem in itself. There isn't anything to do to quote unquote fix it in either way that we talked about. But when something's going really, really well, we don't stop and acknowledge that it's going really well. We're just going with it because there's nothing to repair. The common saying, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But if it's going well, why not acknowledge it, right? So we have a natural response, which makes sense because we want to survive, that if anything is going even the slightest bit wrong in our perception or bad, that we need to resolve it because we don't like the discomfort. And the more you do this inner work, the more you don't like the discomfort because you know what it's like to feel good. But there's many people who I think are just going about their day used to feeling icky, and they've become accustomed to it. So then it's feeling good that feels different. It's feeling good that feels off. And when you're feeling good for the most part. And then you have these moments where you feel bad. It's like, oh, that's the off thing. But we've spent years honing into like detecting as often as possible any potentiality of something going wrong because it's meant to serve us. It's meant to protect us in a sense that we need to belong to a group. If we're not going to belong to a group, there needs to be an alarm that goes off that says there's a threat here and you need to resolve it so that you continue to survive in this community that you've built. Or your life is threatened because of this particular thing, so that needs to be resolved so that you stay alive. Or whatever it may be, any sort of stress, because we're going to naturally interpret things as a survival sort of response, even if it's not a threat to our actual life. But I like to use the analogy of a beautiful nature path. And when you go on a nature walk, if the path is like maintained and there's space, you walk through it so easily, there's no effort, and it's clear. But if you're going on a path that we'll say is off route, like you may need like a machete, you may need other tools to get through that route. And it's not pruned, it's not maintained, it's not easy to traverse. And that, I think, sums up habits. When you start trying to change your habits on a particular thing, in this case, focusing on the good or focusing on the bad, we spent years focusing on the bad. So this bad path is so pruned and so maintained, and it even has like a cement pathway and like everything is perfect. And if there's any sign of growth, it's been maintained. But this idea that things go right and things are going well, we don't mentally go to it and prune it. So when we start to try to mindfully engage in this, it's like you need that machete to cut off the area and create this whole path that says now we can maintain the path, and now we can create this sort of scenario that says, I want this path that feels good to be regularly maintained, this habit, this approach, this pattern, whatever it may be, to be heavily maintained so that it becomes a replacement for everything goes wrong and I got to make sure that everything goes right and all that stuff. So these are just the thoughts that came to mind while you were talking.
Wow. I think that it can be simple. And I agree that so often it is a matter of creating new habits. And new habits will create new neural pathways and expectations, and it will shift your perspective.
Yeah. Yeah. And that pruning thing, the pathway, is literally me talking about neural pathways, neural connections, just in a way that's more digestible. I like to use a field covered in snow as another example. When you first have that heavy dump of snow and people are walking through, there's just pockets of like holes of people's steps, and eventually enough people traverse it that it becomes this smooth sort of path. And that's the idea. When you're creating a new neural connection, trying to create a new habit, it's got to be repeated. And the more it's repeated, the more seamless it becomes. And they say it takes 21 days to build a habit. I've never tested it, but we're spending a bunch of our lives unlearning things essentially and creating new neural pathways to say, like, this is the new thing I want to quote unquote learn or implement.
Maybe you could volunteer to try out the 21-day challenge.
Is there like a group to sign up in? I mean, I consistently I've been trying to change habits for a while, but I don't sit there and go, okay, I'm going to pick this one habit, which people do, but I'm not going to be like, I'm going to pick this one habit and work at it every day. It's like consistently every day, I'm like, how am I going to treat myself better than I used to? But I don't sit there and go, this is day 472 of me doing this. This is just, I'm doing it again
Well,
today.
we always suggested 21. I don't know why we were jumping to extremes of 472, but that's all right. It's all right. I sense some resistance. That's okay.
No, the
Um,
idea was that I've been doing it for longer than 20, 21 days. I've not counted though. So I just
I
picked a number
understand.
two. Yeah. So,
All right. Um, I'm getting messages. It says it's preparing the live stream and meeting is now streaming live on YouTube. That just
well,
popped out of nowhere.
yeah, I see it too.
So that's
Um,
fun.
but it's, oh, all right. Well, it's still there.
Maybe it really didn't do anything. I don't know. It'll be fun to see.
Yeah.
I think we should put a pin in this for now
All right.
and allow ourselves to see if it worked. We didn't record it as a backup on Zoom. I thought about that a little too late. So yeah, I think with us navigating this unknown technology, I like the idea that we did it. I don't, and I'd like to just have one clarification before we do stop. You made it sound like I actually got super frustrated and lost my shit when my computer crashed twice,
Oh
which
God,
I
no.
didn't. But it was kind of hinted at. So just if anybody actually watches this part, no, I didn't. But there were a series of small little frustrations, just like Danay was talking about. I was like, well, maybe we just shouldn't do this today. And if we close all this down and it turns out that that video is not even on YouTube, I'll probably think, you're right, we shouldn't have. But we came this far. So because Danay said a lot of amazing things that are I think worth a future discussion.
Yeah.
But I think it'd be fun engagement with people. So I am still committed to finding a way that we could, even if it's just letting people know so that they can be commenting, something that is a bit more interactive. I think
Yeah.
there's something to be said for that.
There is one other person watching. I just don't know who. So,
That's cool. Thanks. Welcome. Welcome.
so
And it might, I was going to say, I did message someone and I just saw she messaged me back, but I think she's saying, no, I can't make it. So, that's kind of fun. Oh, no, she just liked it. So it could be her, could not be. Who knows?
well,
There we are. We did it. We overcame our struggles and our battles and our triggers. And oh no, wait, that's like the Power of Words workshop that we're doing next week. That's right. I get those mixed up sometimes. So if anybody ever does see this video and it's before November 9th, you should absolutely attend our 2-hour workshop that we are holding, which is going to be talking about the vibration of words and the story that is basically written within each single word. I think that's what I really want to talk about in that workshop. It's the whole story that is culturally understood when we use words like that.
mm-hmm. I mean, there was that. I mean, the power of words is going to be encompassing in everything because I could even feel myself talking about particular things. And I didn't say like battle or struggle or all those things, but I could
You
feel
didn't. It's true.
my reflection or reflecting back to particular moments where I felt that build up.
Yeah.
And I add that energy as I'm talking about things. And, there's a clip that created today about the idea that when we reflect on a past experience and the words we use to talk about it, there were points in my past where I have lost my shit. So that comes right streaming back and says, this is what it felt like, and this is what it's building up to. Having that
Yep.
energy, it's there, right? So
Yeah, it's true. And I don't, I am not suggesting that we deny the energy. My point in that workshop next week on November 9th is going to be, is it still true? That's it. Is it still true? Or is it a habit that you are bringing along this old story, that you are still, connecting it and bringing it to the now but maybe you don't need to. Maybe you don't even want to anymore. You don't even think of it. You're not aware.
Yeah.
It's possible. So
No, it's true.
that's
So
all I have for today.
I'm excited for that workshop. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So if anybody feels like joining, the information will be in the description of this video if it does exist. And if it doesn't exist, then it'll be in the existence of other videos.
Somewhere. Energetically, this whole transmission was received by the whole earth. It's possible no one will actually see it with their eyes or hear it with their ears, but
Like I
I'm
said,
okay
there's
with
one
that.
other person, but it is streaming. So we will
That
see.
means that we were successful in this experiment. That's all we know.
Yeah.
Or at least until we confirm it stays and is downloadable.
Yep.
So
Yep.
good times. Good
All good.
times.
So
Thank you, Danay.
thank you, Sheila.
Thank you to anybody who ever watches this for putting up with our little shenanigans. We actually have some really valuable insight. And sometimes that pops through for sure.
Oh, there's always gem. There's always at
This
least
entire conversation was
gem.
gold, let's be honest.
God, yeah.
But I'm going to go make supper.
Sounds good. All right. Well, thank you to you and thank